warm welcome to Craft with Sarah and this deep dive into the Cricut Design Space updates going live towards the end of August 2025. If you've noticed a big change to your Design Space screen, this video tells you everything you need to know about it. If you've got questions like, where are all my buttons gone? Where's the Select All feature? How do I work with text now? This is what you need. I've broken down all the changes into short, easy to understand chunks so that you can see all the changes and what you need to do to make sure you know how to use everything and where everything is now living within Design Space. Towards the end of the video, we'll also take a look at some new features that will be coming out soon, including, spoiler alert, Spellcheck on text. How amazing is that? All right, let's get started. Here's what the Design Space home screen is currently looking like as of the 24th of August 2025. Yours may look slightly different depending on what version of Design Space you're on. One thing I was struggling a little bit to find is where to load my existing projects that I've already saved to Design Space. From the home screen, you can get to that by clicking this icon down on the left-hand side. Click on that to My Stuff and that will take you through to all of your projects. Going back to the home screen, which you can do by clicking the light bulb icon. To start a new project, you can either click blank canvas here underneath the search bar or click new project and then blank canvas. A fairly new feature is that this window on the left pops out pretty much whenever you try and do anything, and it can be a little bit annoying. To get rid of it so you've got more space to design, click the arrow that appears halfway down the page. To see what version of Cricut Design Space you're currently on, or to see if there are any updates available, click the arrow next to your name on the top right of the screen and then click into Settings. Under the General tab, it says Application Experience, Beta or Live. The live version is the current live version of Design Space that everybody has. You might find that you don't have the very most recent version because Cricut drip release new releases out to avoid overloading their servers with everyone downloading at the same time. So sometimes it can take a few days or even a few weeks until everybody has the same new version. The beta version is sort of like a test ground or a playground of new features. It's where Cricut drip release some of the new features they're working on so that people like you and me can start using them and testing them and seeing if there are any issues with them. If you're happy to load a version of Design Space that will have all those new features quicker but might be a little bit buggier than you're used to, you can switch to the beta version. If you'd prefer a more stable version, keep with Live. We'll have a look at the beta version a little bit later on in this video. Underneath there it says About Design Space and it tells you the current version that you're on. You can check for updates by clicking the Check for Updates button. It will go ahead and do a search, and if there is an update available, you'll then get a link here where you can click to start the download. Note that even if you're not on the most current version of Design Space, clicking the Check Update doesn't always find it for you. If you're in that drip release period, there, as far as I know, isn't a way to force your way to the top of the queue, but sometimes a new version will appear when you click that. To see the list of everything that's changed in the most recent version you're on, click the What's New button and that will take you to Cricut's website. This leads to a page where you can find out more about what's changed, either in the beta version, if that's what you're looking at. There's quite a lot that's changed recently, or in the live version. For the purpose of this video, I'm using Design Space version 9.30.65. Let's take a look at what's changed. When the page loads in, you'll notice it's not a lot different to the last few versions. The Layers panel on the right-hand side has been gone for a while, as have all the buttons along the top when you first load the project, but as soon as you add in either an image from Cricut Access or a shape or some text or an uploaded SVG, then all of your buttons will appear. Let's go into Images and choose, it's almost Halloween, let's go for this little ghost. You can see now I've added that in, we've got a few more options appear on the screen, but it's looking different to how it's always done before. You can close out the Cricut Access promotion on the right hand side by clicking the X. Okay, so I've got my ghost, and the first thing that's changed is the bounding box around the edge of it looks different. It still works the same. We can still drag to make it bigger or smaller. We can stretch it, which doesn't look great. And we can also rotate it by moving the mouse a little bit further away and drag and drop to rotate. And you see that's telling me the angle of rotation that I'm doing as I'm going. And also with the size, it changes as you resize, so you know how big or small you're making it. The most significant change in this version is all of these buttons along the top. They now look and function differently, and you will probably see that a few of the options that you're used to are now missing from that top menu. For example, the offset feature, sticker making feature, warp, and various other things as well, which we'll go through. Don't worry, they are mostly all still available in Design Space. You've just got to dig around a little bit for them. If you're just starting out playing in this version of Design Space, you'll probably see that you've got a circular pulsating icon here under this brand new pencil. That's to draw your attention to it, but it can be a little bit annoying. If you want to get rid of that pulsing icon, click on it. It'll give you a pop-up menu explaining what this pencil tool is and how to use it. And then when you close out of that pop-up menu, the pulsating icon is gone, which is why mine is not appearing. All right, so what have we still got along the top? We've still got undo and redo buttons. We've still got the operations menu where we can change between cut, draw, foil, score, print then cut, and also changing stuff to a guide. You've still got the color option, and you can still click into advanced to change it to whatever color that you want. We've also got our width and height boxes that you can type into. For example, I could go 8 inches and it will change the height in proportion, or you can untick the padlock and then it will just change whichever one you do. Now you may have noticed when I did that, a load of extra numbers appeared. Let's undo. Okay, so this is showing that my ghost is 5.94 inches wide, but if I click into the width box, all of a sudden it changes to be 4 decimal points instead. So now it's saying 5.9394. Click away, click back, and now it's back to 2 decimal places of 5.94. I think this will be a little bit helpful for making sure designs are exactly right if you're doing something maybe to fit in a particular frame or in a particular space on your project. But the last 2 decimal places of an inch is probably not gonna overly impact. And it's kind of annoying when you click and it changes as you're trying to type. I think I'm definitely going to have to remember that I need to wait for it to load those extra digits before I can type in. If you put in a whole number, click away and come back, it will keep that whole number. But if I try and drag the size again, it's now going to have changed. So 6.83, but when I click in, 6.8257. That's going to be a bit confusing for a while, but we'll get used to it. Okay, following on from that, we've got the arrange, where we can bring to front, bring forward, send backward, or send to back. My options aren't appearing for me right now because I've only got one thing on the screen. Let's add another one in. This menu is now also quite contextual. Whenever you're clicking something and you click into images, it will try and show you the same thing that you've already got. So let's have another ghost. And at the moment, she's at the top of my layers panel. But if I go into arrange now, I can then send it backwards or send to back to move it down behind the other one. We've also got the flip buttons still on the screen, so I could flip her horizontally or flip her vertically. If you select more than one layer, so I've now got both of those selected, then the align tool appears along the top as well. Click into that, and this is where you can do all your aligning horizontally, left, right, top, bottom, all of that, and also your distribution. But what about all the other tools that we know and love that are now missing from this top menu? Well, when you click on a layer, you can go into the edit button over on the top, and then it will show you more options. We've got the X and the Y axes where we can change the position on the screen. Also a rotate. So I could rotate my ghost 90 degrees or put it back to 0 and you can type in there. There are no longer arrows to click to change the size or the rotation or anything like that. It is relying now on you typing it in. Also under here is where we've got our offset, our sticker and our warp tools. Click on that and it will pop up the menu now over here on the left instead of around the top, and then you can change to add whatever it is that you want to put on there. For example, I could add an offset like that. That looks really creepy. Let's just fill that in. Talking of filling in, the contour button, as well as the other buttons that appear along the bottom of the layers panel, can also be found in this edit menu. You can see under combine, I've got contour now showing. It will only show the buttons where the tool is available for what you've got selected. So I've got one layer selected, which means I can't slice or combine or attach. You can see that because they're grayed out over here, and they're also not going to appear in this menu on the left. But I could go into contour, then it looks exactly the same. You can do whatever you want in there. When you've got multiple layers selected, then all of the other options become available. The only one that doesn't seem to appear in there is attach. I'm not quite sure why it doesn't, but you can still find attach over here at the bottom of the layers panel. Attach is what tells the Cricut that you want it to cut or draw or score, whatever it is, in the exact place as you have it on the screen. It's really helpful when you're doing things like drawing or scoring to make sure that the Cricut does those lines where you want them to go. One button that is now missing in Design Space, and I have personally contacted Cricut to ask them about this, and they did come back to say yes, it is missing. They didn't say if they were going to be adding it back in, but hopefully if enough people say about it, they will. And that's the Select All button. It used to be along the top, you could press Select All and then everything on your whole project would get selected. I use that all the time, so it's a little bit annoying that it's now gone. However, there are a couple of workarounds. The first is that you can just click and drag to select everything. If you've only got a couple of layers and images, that's not so bad. But if you're working on a very big, involved project, that can be quite difficult. You can also use keyboard shortcuts instead. On a Windows computer, if you press Ctrl and A, that will select everything on your canvas. If you're on a Mac, it's Command and A. Let's take a look at those same changes to the menu when we're working with text instead of images. Just like before, you can go into text and type out whatever it is that you want to write. And as you type, you see you get some of the options appear along the top. Once again, we've got undo and redo, we've got our operations menu and color. We've also got the font. Click into here and it will open the menu on the left hand side where you can change the font, and it will kind of keep whatever you've put in there so that you can preview what it's going to look like in each of the different fonts. We've also got the box where you can change it between regular and writing fonts. We've also got the font size in here. It's a little bit hard to use this because the box is so small. It doesn't really tell you what it is or anything, it's just a random number. But if I typed 70 in there, hit enter on my keyboard, it will make it smaller. If I change it to a bigger number, let's go 150, press enter, it will get bigger. You've also got the width and height for changing the size as well, or you can drag the corners. If you're doing the width and height, once again, when you click in there, it will update to show it to 4 decimal places. We've also got the arrange options and the flip options along there. If we add another bit of text on another layer and then select them both, then we get the align options, just like we had when we were using the images. When you click into the tools menu, this pencil over here on the left, then you get the same options that we did before: offset, sticker, warp, position, rotate, and all of those combine options. So whether you're working with images or text, the changes are fairly consistent, which is a good thing. Cricut have made some changes to the layers panel, which now means that the layers work a little bit differently when you're using the features such as slice, combine, attach, etc. Let's take a look at an example. I've got lots of snowflakes here on my screen. If I click on one of them, you see that's the very bottom layer in my layers panel. And then I'm also going to click this one, which is the third one up. So I'll select that one, press Shift on my keyboard and click on that top one. I've now got these two layers selected. They're not next to each other in the layers panel and they're not at the top. Let's say that I want to combine them and weld them together. I probably wouldn't actually be doing this because they're not touching, but it's just to show you what the layers panel is doing. Go into Combine and then Weld and watch the position in the layers panel. So keep your eye on that layers panel, not on the snowflakes over on the left. All right, I'll click and that's the change. Did you notice what's different? So what it used to do was when you used any of the features like slice, combine, attach, it would move it to the top of the layers panel. But it now doesn't do that. It keeps it in the place of whatever the top layer was that you selected. Let's undo and look at it again. So I had this one and this one selected. Select them again. What it's going to do, instead of moving these to the top of the layers panel when I weld them, it will keep the position of the top layer I've got selected, which is this snowflake. Combine and weld. And there it is. It's no longer going all the way to the top. I think this is a really, really helpful change, especially if you're working with a project where you're doing lots of changes or if you've got lots and lots of different layers. And for things where you're formatting lots of score lines from an uploaded SVG, again, it's going to be so helpful that stuff doesn't move about, because sometimes you just want to move one little thing, and if it goes all the way to the top, then you've got to drag it back down in position and it just takes longer to do things. So I'm really happy about this change. Again, it's just going to take a little while to get used to. The same thing happens with all of the other different things. So if I go to this one, let's move it down a bit. Let's say I wanted to turn this into a print and cut. Let's click flatten and it will keep that same position. It doesn't move it to the top. Likewise, if we ungrouped this and hid some of the layers and then I wanted to slice this out, click and drag around both of those, slice, and you get the slice results without them all going to the very top of the layers panel. I'm really happy for this change and it's going to make designing a lot easier. There is a little bug in the layers panel at the moment, and it's about when you're moving things about by dragging and dropping in the layers panel. So let's take this one here, my welded result of my two snowflakes. I can click and drag to move that down, but then if I try and click and drag again, I'm clicking and dragging right now, you see it didn't work that first time, that second time it did. So sometimes after you move something, it then won't let you, so I'm clicking and dragging now, it won't let you do it again. So I'm clicking and dragging that bottom layer now, but nothing is happening. If that happens to you, the way to resolve it is to click to another layer, then click back to the one you want to move, and then it will let you do it. And then you'll probably find, oh, it worked that time, but you'll probably find that it then won't move again. So if that happens, just click to something else, click back, and then it will work. One of my most used features in Design Space when I'm creating something directly within this software is to duplicate in place. It's a way of making a copy of a layer where the copy is in exactly the same place. If you're creating layered designs where you want the same image to appear on multiple layers of your project, for example for a greetings card, just a regular layered design, a shadow box, something like that, duplicating something exactly in place is really helpful. The reason we need this feature is that if you just generally duplicate something, it doesn't keep the same position. For example, if I click on these pine trees and press the duplicate button at the top of the layers panel, it makes a copy, but it changes the position. Now you could select a box around them and go align center and one is on top of the other, but if this is more of part of an existing design, you've got lots of other things going on, then you might not want to risk changing the position of the original. That's where duplicate in place comes in. It does still exist in this version of Design Space, but it's a little bit different. It's a little bit harder to know if it's going to work out right. So I thought I'd go through that as well. And if you've never used this before, I hope this is helpful too. To duplicate in place, click on the layer or the group that you want to duplicate. It also works with text, anything that you've got on your screen. If you're on a Windows computer, press the Alt key. If you're on a Mac, press Option. And then with your mouse above where your image is, it used to be when you wiggled the mouse with that key held down on your keyboard, I am currently holding my Alt key down, you'd get a plus icon appear next to your mouse cursor. And that was a really nice little visual way to let you know that it was going to work. That plus icon now does not appear, but the function still works. All right, so here's my regular mouse. I've pressed the Alt key on my keyboard, moved the mouse ever so slightly, and now I'm going to left click with the mouse. And you see I've now got a copy in exactly the same place. I change the color of the top one and then hide it. You see it's exactly there. So it does still work, you just don't have that little visual of the plus anymore that let you know that you're about to duplicate it, which is a bit of a shame, but it's okay for that to have been gone as long as it still works, which it does, so that's great. The duplicate in place feature is also now respecting the change where when you duplicate, it no longer puts the duplicated version at the very top of the layers panel. Again, this is going to make designing so much easier. For an example, let's click on this tree here. Let's say I want to duplicate this in place to make a copy. I will hold my Alt key down, move the mouse slightly, and click. And it's made the copy of the layer right above the original one that I was duplicating. What it used to do was it would put that one right at the top, which then means I'd inevitably have to drag it back down to be above the original one, which is where I want it to be anyway. So by having that also duplicate in place and keep the layer positioning, that is a fabulous change that I'm very happy with. If you're working with uploaded files that are very, very large, for example, one of my giant signs or an off-the-map project, then there's a little bug to be aware of currently in the Layers panel. I've loaded in my giant Chinese New Year dragon. This is a really, really big project. You can see it's loaded in at 20 inches wide and 23¼ inches tall. It can still be cut on your regular size cutting mat from regular size cardstock because all of the big bits are separated into different pieces. You can kind of see some of those join lines along there, and then you put all the bits together, you glue them together once it's cut out. Currently, Design Space is having a little bit of a problem realizing that big designs can still be cut on regular paper. What it's doing is it's calculating the full size of the project, 20 inches wide, and it's putting an exclamation mark in the layers panel here and saying it's too big to cut. Well, yes, if it actually was 20 inches wide, that would be too big to cut on a Cricut. However, this error is wrong because the individual pieces in the design are small enough to cut. Luckily, it's a really easy fix. We've just got to ungroup the layers. Now click on it, press ungroup, and then Design Space understands all of a sudden that all the pieces are separate and they are individually sized to be able to cut. So that error has now gone. If you see that error and you don't ungroup anything, it won't let you cut the project. It will just tell you it's too big. But it's a simple fix just to hit that ungroup button. Depending on the project you're working on, if it's got other groups within that original group, you may also have to ungroup those too. So it's a good idea if you're seeing that error to first ungroup your whole design, then just scroll down the layers panel, see if you've got any more red exclamation marks showing. If you do, click whatever group it is that one's showing for and ungroup it, and just make sure all of those exclamation marks are gone, otherwise you won't be able to cut the project. That was an overview of all the new changes currently available in Design Space. However, there are more changes coming very soon. Those changes are not live yet, but remember that beta version we saw in the beginning of the video? We can use that to get a sneaky preview at what is coming soon. To change your Design Space to the beta version, click your name in the top right and then press Settings. Under Application Experience, click Beta. That will then install the beta version on your computer. It might take a couple of minutes for it to go. I'll click beta and then done, and it will install that new version for me. You can switch back to live at any time. So if you want to give this a go just to see what's changed and then put it back, you can absolutely do that. Or you can continually always work in beta or always work in live. Completely up to you. The beta version's now installed and launched. A little way to tell if you are on this version is because it will say beta over here on the top, and you can go back into your name and then settings and it will tell you. So I'm now on version 9.35.85 in the beta version. If I click check for updates, it probably won't find anything because it's only just installed. Okay, so what is going to be coming soon? There's Cricut's new AI feature down here. I'm not going to go through that in this video, but if you're interested in learning about AI things, let me know in the comments and I can do a separate video on how to use that feature. This video is more on the general overview things that have changed. Something that is very exciting is that it has spell check on text. This is something I have wanted for so long because I type so quickly and then I always make mistakes and don't go back and check. Let's take a little look. Let's go into text and I don't know what to type, so it's going to be an obvious misspelling that it will pick up. I wonder if I was going to try that, like colour versus colour, American versus UK, and see if it picked that up, but it didn't. Oh, it did. There we go. I click back and it obviously knows I'm in the UK and that for the UK, colour is spelt with a U. So I've double clicked onto it. I've got that red line underneath, which is telling me I've spelt it wrong. So I can type in there. And now that is correct for me in the UK with the UK English spelling. Let's try something else. Let's type Christmas, but purposefully spell it wrong. So I've got my last two things wrong and it knows it's telling me it's wrong because it's got that line underneath it. I can right click and then it's going to tell me the correct spelling. Or if this was a word I specifically wanted to be this way, I could add it to the dictionary and then it'd remember and realize this was a right word. I'm going to go for Christmas and click away and now it's correct again. Let's try again. Do that. I guess it's a little bit annoying that the line doesn't appear just generally, because if you clicked away quickly, you might not necessarily notice that there was a problem, but when you double click in to change the text, it will appear. So perhaps not as helpful as it could be, but still fairly helpful. What about if I click away and right click? No, it only realizes it when you're actually on the edit text. But still, that's better than we had before, so that is great. You'll notice over here, I've got that pulsing blue circle I was talking about at the start of this video. If you've got that and you're getting really annoyed by it, which I definitely was, to get rid of it, click. It says looking for more, click the pencil icon to open the full tool panel. And then when you click away from that pulsy annoying circle has now gone and it doesn't come back. So yay. Another change in the current beta version of Design Space is that the Color Sync option at the top of the Layers panel has been renamed to Material Colors, and there are a couple of other changes relating to that too. I use this all the time. It's a way to easily drag and drop multiple layers to change the color to something else in your design. And you can also use it to check that you haven't accidentally put very similar versions of the same color that would then come up as a different mat to cut on, when really it could be combined into one. We'll click on Material Colors. That changes the Layers panel to look like all of the different colors split out. So far, this is very similar to how the Color Sync panel worked. One change that I'm not personally a fan of was that the Color Sync version, the old version, used to give you the computer codes for each of the colors called hexadecimal codes. So it looked like a hashtag symbol and then 6 numbers and letters combined. And that's the computer code for each of these colors, which as a designer, I found very helpful because I could work out when I'm testing new designs if I'd accidentally put the wrong color in there somewhere. However, I know that for some Cricut users, that was a little bit confusing because there was kind of the question of what are these weird codes? What do they mean? Is that a particular brand of cardstock or vinyl or anything like that? Which it wasn't. It was just how computers read the color. So it's been changed to make it simpler, and now instead of having those hex codes, it's just saying material color 1, material color 2, material color 3, etc. In reality, it probably doesn't make much difference, but as a designer, that's a little bit frustrating. But generally, it still works the same way. You can click and drag to change the color, so I could change that, and it will change it to the pink. Let's say this kind of dark goldy color, I could change that to this yellow by clicking and dragging. So, it works the same. It's just named something different. And I think material colors does make more sense contextually than color sync. So hopefully that will make it a little bit clearer what it was that this does. And you can change back to the normal layers panel at any point by clicking on layers. To keep up to date with anything new that's coming out, you can look at that Cricut help guide, the changelog that we looked at earlier in this video. I was having a look through this just to see if I'd missed anything in this video, and I don't think that my design space has given me the most recent version of the beta, because when I look through the release notes, it's saying that there's been another change recently, so that when you click on a design, you get these buttons, so delete, duplicate, attach, flatten, and group appear underneath the image when you click on it, and mine isn't doing that, so I don't have this update yet. So it's really helpful to check this page just to see what is coming soon that you might not necessarily have. And then there's also a few other things that have been changed. There is something in there about image too large error, so perhaps that error that we were looking at has now been fixed, which would be great. And then there's lots of other things that have been changed recently too. But for now, I think this video has gone on a little bit too long, to be honest. I was trying to get it all under 10 minutes and that hasn't happened, but I hope it's been helpful to see the changes that have come out recently and to help you if you're working through any of my older videos or even my new videos that have not come out yet, because I record things a couple of months in advance. So all of my Halloween videos, which will be coming out, won't look like how your screen looks now. But hopefully this video will help you to see what's changed and how you can work around it to get everything working so that you can follow along with those tutorials. If there are any other major updates, I will of course let you know. If you've got any questions about this update or about Design Space in general, let me know in the comments under this video. But for now, I hope this has been helpful, and I know it can be a little bit frustrating when things change, but ultimately what this is doing is it's pushing Design Space forward, it's improving the user experience, and while it might take a little bit of time to use and get used to and to see how things are different overall, I think these are some really great changes, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it affects how we all use Design Space with our Cricut machines. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!